wipe this one down real quick. Hello everyone, so good to see you. So, Tales of Symphonia. The remastered version came out, I bought it for Switch, and in short...
Oh no, it's broken.
Look, a lot of people have fond memories of the game, myself included. It's the first game that really taught me what the scope a proper JRPG can achieve. It shaped the kind of games that I would be interested from that point forward, and really taught me a lesson in what storytelling and writing could be in a game. The N64 was my first console, so I didn't exactly have a large pool of options to choose from in that genre. So imagine how I felt when I learned that Tales of Symphonia was getting a re-release with all that Japanese exclusive content now in HD. A fine game, a decent upgrade, some technical problems, both audio and visual, but still plenty serviceable. And if you want to learn more about the original GameCube version and the PlayStation expanded version, that was one of the first videos I did on the channel. You can watch why I think Tales of Symphonia on GameCube is the best version right here on GVG. Consider taking a look at that now, because I'm not going to be going into any of these details here in this video. Instead, we're going to talk about taking the problems with the re-release and making them exponentially worse. We've suddenly found ourselves in this crazy Wild West era of remakes, remasters, and ports of games, some which are much higher quality than others. Just in the last few months, we got Crisis Core Reunion, where the visuals look fantastically redone compared to the PSP original. Some questionable audio changes, but for the most part, absolutely a solid way to introduce you to Zack's story if you've never played the original. Contrasting that is a port of Persona 3 Portable, also originally for the PSP. Character portraits look sharp and the game runs flawlessly at 60 FPS, but there are backgrounds and other AI upscaled assets that don't look too pleasing to look at. It doesn't claim to be a remaster or remake, but the potential was right there. Then, very recently, we got Metroid Prime Remastered, which, oh my goodness, everything is redone. The lighting and textures complement each other seamlessly. It controls like a dream with several customizable options to suit you. There's colorblind accessibility and extra options I didn't even realize existed until later. Did you know there's narration in the intro? Yeah, neither did I until later. No big deal, I guess. Really though, it's just incredible. This really blurs the line as to what we can even define as a remaster or a remake and sets a new bar for what we can expect from the games labeled as such. And now we have Tales of Symphonia Remastered. To preface, I love this game to bits, but in short, the release of this game, specifically the Switch version in this comparison, is trying very hard to make me not love it. If you've seen or heard bits about this in other media, I'm sorry to say, they aren't exaggerating. In fact, some of them were going easy on this release. As a huge fan of this series, I want to see it continue to flourish and find new fans, and sadly, I find it hard to recommend this to people at all. That's not something anyone wants to tell their friends or family with an interest in something they love. I like to be positive about the games I talk about on here, but right now, this might be bad vibes gaming. Regardless, let's try to take a nice, constructive, fair, but critical look here as we more or less go in order with what I found while I try to keep my sanity. So let's load it up. Aw, look at the game icon! It's the box art of a better version. As a quick summary, this is the PS3 version of Symphonia, which is a port of the PS2 version that added content from the GameCube version that Bandai Namco is now trying to make you forget ever happened with this version that I have now for Switch. Are we clear? Good. Because of this, the intro is the original Japanese song, which I understand, but I still love the epic scale of the Western release's orchestral song. So let's go ahead and start up. Oh my god, wait, what is this? No, they didn't just Photoshop together a title screen like this, did they? Oh. See, after the Symphonian jump scare, I thought this was the main menu now, but it's that pesky end user license agreement. Oh, thank goodness. But hey, don't worry, this only whets the appetite for what's to come. Thankfully, this is the only time you see this extra tile, but why give it an entirely different screen? Before you start, you can adjust some of the settings, like the text speed. I enjoy having the text scroll because that's just what I'm used to. You can also completely adjust the colors of the menu and text boxes, which we'll be coming back to sooner than I wish I had to. There's some problems I have to complain about that existed in the PS3 release of Tales of Symphonia Chronicles, but I'll try to keep it to the remaster as much as I can. The key word is try. There's a lot of problems that's specific to remastered for no apparent reason. One of the major ones is the presence of this empty background. I need to clear something up. Media outlets have claimed that the menu background is always pure black. Well, they were lying. If you wanted, you can actually adjust it so it's blue instead. I'm joking, it's as bad as they said. Here's the original, where the menu keeps the gameplay in the background and provides some color. You can adjust the tint with the RGB slider, and most notable, the transparency with this slider. This here is made specifically for transparency, and yet when I move it in the remaster, all it does is make my blue into blue or more blue. What's the point of the slider then? It was made to make this transparent. At least I can give it some color, because you know what else gets a black background? The iconic skits. You know, the animated ones that occur throughout the entirety of the game. Whenever you start a skit, the cast gets thrown into a black void instead of having the background still be visible like in the original. It's pretty much suffering the same fate as the menu, but you can't really do anything about it. And I'll say, the portraits bounce and move much more than on the GameCube, at least making it feel a little more lively. There was also some text overlap that makes skits a little hard to read sometimes, so they put this black rectangle behind the font. But now the background is completely black, and they didn't even remove the rectangle. It's still there! If they're doing it this way, they could have nudged the text down and removed the bar entirely, but there's absolutely no thought put into the format of skits here. There is a criminal amount of black and white screens in this remaster. The moment you press the button to go into the field, the game remembers the previous versions of Symphonia because the world map audio will start in the background. You can't hear it, but it's starting while the field is loading, and the music will begin mid-song once you're actually moving on the world map. Wait for it. It's not extremely jarring, though the music starts at a different spot every time you enter the world map. What, technically speaking, causes this to happen, I wonder? You also probably notice how long it took to get onto the field. Sometimes it takes that long, other times less so. There's no consistency to speak of. In fact, when I'm going from room to room, I sometimes can't tell if my game's going to crash or not by the way it freezes nearly every time. And for some, it did. I've spoken to multiple people who were able to play the game before the day 1 patch, and some couldn't go a few hours without a crash. You can save at any time on the world map, but this is also a title that doesn't autosave. Thankfully, I haven't experienced that in my sessions so far, but the fact that it needed to get patched for that in the first place, it's concerning. Colette is on a journey of world regeneration, but it feels like the real battles are against the load times and frame rates. And battles! Oh god. I want to show you how battles started in the GameCube version. Either when you approach an enemy on the field or start a fight through a story scene, they all look like this.
Don't let up!
Now compare that to how remastered transitions.
We can do it!
What in the world was that? The screen goes to black-white and then dumps you into battle? Where's my smooth screen shatter? The shattering screen and transitions to battle in general are a way to hide loading times the game needs to bring you into a fight. This is a staple of not just Tales games, but many classic and modern JRPGs. You can even hear the sound effect of the shatter when you're in the white void, but this is just lazy. I'm gonna share with you my reaction of the first boss battle and the raw emotions I felt trying to comprehend everything happening in front of me. So we're gonna transition right into the battle right here, and you're gonna see just the sudden, oh god, yeah, that just blips right in. So this battle, it doesn't take too long. So you just gotta battle these two renegade grunts, and it's not so much a big deal. This part doesn't really have any challenge, but the first boss actually can give you some trouble after you fight these guys. And I'm wondering, because there's a lot of transitions that happen, I'm wondering if this console is going to be able to handle it. So this oh god, there was like a texture. What was that? Like, I know in the original that happens too, like they kind of blip in, but that was a lot more exaggerated. Jesus! It just jumps right in. It's supposed to fade in. You don't do jump cuts like this, man. You're supposed to, it's supposed to be, what was that? What was that? They were just not there and then they were there. It's not supposed to be like this. And then there's Kratos coming in and oh my gosh, I never really noticed, but look, his sword and his shield retain the thick black outline that they should have kept. There's like a weird drop shadow around the characters, but look how good the sword, and it jumps again! What happened? What is happening? You're not supposed to do this. And actually, all their weapons have a nice thick outline. Look how nice the outline looks on them. They could have kept that artistically. Oh my god, I need an apple gel. I'm gonna die. I need an actual apple gel. I'm gonna die. and battles themselves just look weirdly darker. Apologies if the capture footage directly from my GameCube is a bit fuzzy, but you can still see a clear difference in color and frame rate. As I mentioned in a previous video, the source code for the GameCube version in particular has been lost, so every subsequent release runs at 30 FPS. But like, that's almost the least of our problems today. This weird, awkward transition happens every single battle. It's reached a point where it's just making me dizzy. If you're sensitive to these kind of flashes, I'm sorry, and I'll also avoid putting them here for the rest of the video. It was more for the sake of comparison. Just returning to the field at the end of battles is drastically different across all platforms. For a quick measurement, take a look at how long it takes to load back in after battle between every single console release of Symphonia. And like I mentioned in that little reaction, characters have an unusual, very tiny drop shadow instead of the thicker outlines. And the funny thing is, these outlines still exist. There's a few instances where if you move your character in front of certain textures and effects, the outline will be restored, but then it disappears again when you move elsewhere. And this is not some creative decision for this room in particular. Oh, if they only could have thought that far ahead. There's some cutscenes where those outlines reveal themselves as well, potentially remnants from, quite possibly, the GameCube version. Why do weapons have the outline and not the characters? It would have made a lot more sense if it was the other way around, wouldn't it? I mean, look how nice it looks! Sorry, I don't mean to yell at you. I'm not disappointed, I'm just mad. They've just done these characters dirty. Everything just feels so inconsistent. The portraits during battle are okay enough, but when you go to the pause menu, they're just so pixely. Why? I want you to look at Kratos' chest and just a bit lower, which I feel some of you are gonna do anyway, but look at how smeared his AI upscale belts look. It's like looking at poorly generated anime hands, just uncanny valley and gross. Lloyd's boot, I have no idea what's happening here. And poor Boda, the AI upscaler, had no idea what to do with some of the colors and textures on here. What did they do? Simply increasing the contrast and sharpening the details doesn't magically make something look better. Trust me, I've photoshopped many an image in my day. They really couldn't just redraw these relatively more simpler character models? It's kind of an insult to the original character designers. There's so many little graphical abnormalities that I'm starting to become conscious as to what's intentional or not. These pixels here? I can't tell if it's supposed to only be in this corner or if it's glitching out. And now you'll notice them too. Oh, I'm going crazy. The audio isn't the best either. I know the fidelity of recording voice lines back then wasn't as high as it is now, and it sure shows. You can hear some of the crispy, compressed quality when a character like Colette pronounces her S's.
Say, is this the seal? It has my family's crest on it.
I don't expect a full redubbing, but don't we have the technology to tighten up audio files to make them sound a little cleaner? Not just the characters themselves, but the sound effects can be super aggressive too, especially fire. Why is this campfire so loud?
Thanks. And I'm sorry that I keep causing trouble for you.
Don't worry about it.
Stop! And don't even get me started when an entire village caught fire. Those flames had such a loud personality, they almost became their own party member. There is the ability to lower audio and sound effects, so it's not as big of a deal, but I'm gonna be specific. There's even lines that have been dropped entirely. No joke, the scene where you meet Remiel is just missing dialogue. Here's the GameCube version of his introduction.
I am Remiel. I am an angel of judgment. I am here to guide Colette, daughter of the Mana lineage, on her journey to heaven as the seventh chosen.
Alright, gotcha. Here to guide Colette on her journey as the seventh chosen. Some interesting context there. What about you, remastered Remiel?
I am Remiel. I am an angel of judgment.
Oh, well, that's it. You cut that one a little short, man. Then later, in the same scene, he does it again. GameCube Remiel, what do we gotta do on this journey?
Colette, the chosen of regeneration. Unlock the seals that guard the Tower of Salvation and climb its stairs to heaven in distant lands.
I humbly accept this task.
Very good.
Awesome. Go to the seals and then to the Tower of Salvation. Thanks. And what do you have to say, remastered Remiel?
Colette, the chosen of regeneration.
I humbly accept this task.
very good.
Wait, what? No,
We
no,
of
Colette,
Crucius-
no, don't just accept it. He didn't even tell you what you had to do. Don't just sign the check before you see how much you're paying. Although you would do that, wouldn't you? Now, I'll admit, I'm kind of dunking on the remastered version here. The PS3 version of Tales of Symphonia Chronicles had this same problem of missing dialogue. And yet, at the same time, they could have used the opportunity to correct this mistake and add it back in, couldn't they? Did they find the text redundant or what? I just don't get it. If anything, I think I'm being reaffirmed that the GameCube version might just be the best way to play this game. I don't understand how technology 20 years later can't compensate for shortcomings, and beyond that, does some things worse than a game on weaker hardware. The animation of Colette getting the Crucius Crystal attached to her is done more elegantly on the GameCube version, where the lighting effects are hiding the way it appears on her. But due to the loss of some effects in the remaster, the crystal just kind of pops in. I shouldn't even be noticing things like this. Man, I play this game way too much. You know what? If there's something this game eerily improved on, it's the save times. Do you want to see me save my game? Do you want to see me do it again? I seriously had to check if it actually worked the first few times, since it immediately backs right out of the menu. Maybe it has to do with saving to a cartridge again? I'm pretty sure the game just saved itself before I even pressed the button. Oh, and I haven't even touched on all the wacky adventures I had while I was in the desert. This was probably the worst of the experience. To put it simply, the desert kills the frame rate. The sand that overlays the scenery, for some reason or another, does not play well with the FPS. Sometimes it's not as noticeable, but if you carefully observe the oasis here, you can see the moment where my Switch wants to die. Just one screen before this, you might have noticed, when you stand in front of the entrance to a shop, sometimes the name appears right over your head. But here, the Desert Rose is just floating here? Are you lost, child? The Desert Rose is here, but you have to walk all the way over onto this side. This isn't a building you walk into, so why is it all the way on the wrong screen? Why? I also got stuck in the desert writing Noish. I'm like, hello? What, is this an invisible wall here? Are you telling me I'm gonna have to come across parts of the world map where there's just invisible walls? No! No! Oh, I had to get off of Noish to talk to Kratos. Why do I need to get off of Noish to talk to Kratos? The Tree of Ruins is another highlight. This is actual footage running natively on the Switch. I'm
sick of this desert.
Thanks. Do not refresh your page. This is not a slideshow, although we are dangerously close to this being a PowerPoint. I can't believe this is happening, and then it just transitions into a battle. Oh, what a nice cherry on top. I hate it when they put a cherry on top. All I wanted to do was clear the ruins. A nice, short dungeon, yeah? It would be if the interior also didn't chug. Seriously? Not as terrible as outside the ruins, but somehow more terrible than the room next to it. Huh? You know, I wonder if the menus and skits go pure black to remove slowdown during these areas. Did they add these specifically so menu navigation and the pacing of skits aren't hindered by these problems? But shouldn't it be freezing the scene in place? Nothing should be moving when a game is paused. That's against the law. I can't fathom this anymore. I'm tired. How does any developer drop the ball so hard like this? We saw Namco giving Klonoa and Pac-Man remakes last year and they look great. Definitely not the scale of a JRPG, but there's already precedent for this. Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition looks and plays fantastic. Maybe the cel-shaded art style was easier to up the resolution of, or that the base game was already on an HD console? I don't know. I don't know what's going on internally, but it's just kinda disrespectful, man. Look at how they massacred my boy. You could have just packaged the PS3 version and released that in its current state to a better reception. Tales of Symphonia first ignited the popularity of the Tales series outside of Japan, even after releasing previous entries like Tales of Destiny and Tales of Eternia, also known as Tales of Destiny 2, not to be confused with Tales of Destiny 2. The Switch is the place for the series to be released. In the UK, Tales of Vesperia sold better on the Switch than any other console, so you think they would optimize for this platform specifically, but it's become regulated to some quick cash grab. Of all Tales games, this is the one that deserved to have the full remake treatment, or at least a few steps above whatever counts for their definition of a remaster on their part. It's lazy, it feels careless, and unfortunately, if this doesn't sell well, I feel like Bandai Namco is going to think that we just don't care about the Tales series again. I want to see Tales of Destiny Director's Cut translated and made available for an English audience. I want to see Tales of the Abyss in HD, but if they're going to give it this kind of treatment, then I have my reservations. As far as I know, the PlayStation version of Symphonia Remastered is a bit better to play, marred by less problems than the Switch version. Which is a damn shame because after 20 years, this game is finally back home on Nintendo consoles and on a handheld. The sad thing is, if you go on the Steam page for Tales of Symphonia right now, it's more than likely going to be on sale for a single-digit price. While this game is asking for the same amount as the recently released Metroid Prime Remastered. Not full price, $40, but unfortunately in desperate need of salvation. But what do you think about Tales of Symphonia Remastered? I didn't want this to be super negative, but man, if this game on the Switch is your first introduction to this otherwise fantastic game, then I'm so sorry. You deserve better. This game deserves better. We all deserve better. This is not Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Bamco could have taken all the time they wanted. What's your excuse, huh? Huh? Anyway, we're definitely not always this negative. For some usually better vibes, be sure to subscribe to Good Vibes Gaming. Leave a like, tell us what you think, ring that bell for notifications. I'm on Twitch at OfficialGVG, and just for $1 on Patreon, you can hitch a ride with our fellow party members on Discord, where you can tell everyone what your favorite art is. Mine is Tempest, just like the emotions I felt when I was playing this game and slowly watched it stab itself in the foot, pondering the fate of one of my favorite series, wondering if it will bounce back or fade into obscurity with naught but a whimper. Yeah. Till we meet again!